Hey, everybody, welcome back to an Anxiety Wise podcast. Today, I have a couple of special people joining the studio, Andy and Michelle Colbert. They're just a really unique story that is both inspiring and heartbreaking all at the same time. And I really appreciate you guys coming on. We got to meet through Andy's dad and Michelle's husband, Rob. Rob was a financial advisor who I met, and he loves my sister and just built a great friendship. And when he heard about the work that we do with the Anxiety Wise side of the house, he actually was sending me some of his financial planning clients to work with. And as probably you guys listening can equate to, that a lot of times in the financial world or anything around money can create a lot of emotion. So that led into conversations about personal, family, and anxiety. And I'm going to let you guys tell your story. But first off, thank you for trusting me the way you have. And I appreciate you coming on to share your story. And for the audience, who either one of you wants to start out, I'd just love to hear you guys kind of share from your perspective how things went when we first met, what you first thought, maybe when you were told kind of about what I do or how I might be able to help. Probably thought it was crazy. I don't know what conversations went on behind. What's that?
Thought it was witchcraft. No.
I love Jesus. Definitely not a witch over here. But it is funny. People say that, oh, it's voodoo or it's nope, it's your body. Your body's designed to heal. Your brain's designed to heal. So with that, Michelle or Andy, either one of you want to take it from there? Yeah, just appreciate you being here and love to hear a little bit about the story and how we all got together and what you thought.
Okay. Well, thank you for all the help that you've given our family,
You're worth it.
first and foremost. I'm Michelle. I have struggled with anxiety for most of my life, probably more so in the last 25 years or so. I went through therapy, medication, and was introduced to Nick. Goodness, I don't even know how many years ago.
It's been a while.
Yeah. And it was mind and eye opening and a relief, actually, and was not medicated. I went off medication for a very long time until kind of tragedy struck and needed to kind of re-up with Nick. My husband passed away 2.5 years ago unexpectedly, and it was a pretty tumultuous, anxious, panic-stricken time for us. And so Nick showed up and helped us out a great deal. And we were allowed to kind of put things on track and get our lives in a healthier direction and move forward. So thank you, Nick.
No, thank you guys for trusting me. It's losing a spouse or a father, a child. Those are when people hear trauma or post-traumatic stress, it's usually those kind of situations you think about. The funny thing is when we met, your family was thriving as far as like family unit. Rob's a successful financial advisor.
Yeah.
You got great kids, like life's going. I mean, there's anxiety happening, but things are good and family's good outside of the anxiety piece. And I believe that's where Rob had said, hey, my kid's got anxiety. Can you help us out a little bit? So
Yeah.
if it's all right with you, like, let's go back before tragedy really struck and kind of give us a little insight to what family life was like. If we want to throw Andy under the bus and, pick on him a little bit, we can do that. And Andy, if you want to chime in and kind of get your perspective too, after mom kind of shares what was going on. But basically when he came to me, it was more of, Nick, your sister says that you can help with this stuff. And he just kind of puked out everything. And my big suggestion was like, look, families that heal together, grow together, and things get better. And oftentimes with kids, and especially in the teenager realm, it's really impactful if that teenager watches mom or dad go through whatever this thing is, right? Whether it's therapy or what I'm doing. And I do want to come back to you talking about therapy and meds. We'll hit that in a little bit. But what was it like when you kind of heard about I could come in the door? What was family life like for you guys at that point? And then as we started working together, what were the changes that you saw within Andy and yourselves? Because you guys went through the processes too.
So things were good. Life was good. we were living our best lives. Andy was experiencing a lot of anxiety and depression, correct?
Mhm,
A lot around social situation. You were a senior in high school?
mhm.
Senior year in high school, lots of life changes, so that can trigger a lot of feelings and emotions, and just felt very I think he felt very disconnected, and we didn't feel he was the happy-go-lucky person that he had always been, and, um, meds weren't doing the trick, and we were kind of at a loss for what could make him feel better and be happy. We just wanted him to be happy, and he wasn't happy every day. So, do you wanna
Mm.
go on from there, or
Well, let me ask you a question on that, if it's okay. What you said meds weren't doing the trick. Do you mind me asking what meds you were on at that point, Andy, or do you know?
We started with
sertraline?
sertraline, and then we moved to escitalopram, which I've been on since I think it was 13 years old is when I first started taking it,
Mhm.
and we just kept upping and upping and upping as I got older and grew.
Yeah.
Just
It's the generic Lexapro.
Okay.
Helps.
Okay. All right. So sorry to interject there, but Andy, go ahead. Why don't you give me your thoughts on kind of when mom and dad suggested, hey, this crazy dude's gonna come over and like give you a mental margarita, and you're like probably thinking, what are you talking about? Is
Uh-huh.
my guess.
yeah, I mean, just for a little background, I mean, I struggled with it since since birth. I mean, through elementary school, pre-K, all the way to high school. But I think it was mid senior year, started, questioning like what I was gonna do after graduation, and that whole thing kind of started to create a spiral in my emotions, not just, my anxiety, but just all of my emotions wrapped together, and that created like a wave of emotions that I struggled to handle, and I couldn't because of the trauma that was linked on from all those years of anxiety and traumatic events, growing up. So, met with you and we talked about like what we can do going forward. At first, I was clueless about how it was going to go in the process, but over each session we started just, pulling and disconnecting all these, moments in my life that were so strong in my mind, um, emotionally, that helped me just become more, I guess, free in terms of being happy and all that. And then by the time I walked across the stage senior year in high school, just felt, that invincibility a little bit.
So you went from feeling full of anxiety and displaced to I belong here, life's great, and you're thriving, is what you're saying?
Absolutely. Yeah.
When you say disconnect, I think a lot of times people that are listening are sitting back going, obviously, Michelle, kind of like people say, like, well, it's witchcraft or these crazy things. And I'm not going to explain the process in this podcast. I am going to do one soon where I share, kind of break it down how it works. Cause when people hear it, they're like, wow, okay, that makes a lot of sense. But Andy, from your perspective, or for you, Michelle, when we did the work, I tell people you're going to know what we did worked. You're going to feel it. You're going to feel the shift. Is that true? Is that a true statement for you guys? Like, wow, okay. It's almost weird. Like, we'll see if it comes back tomorrow, but it wasn't like wow, you wake up the next day and you're not perseverating on those thoughts or having the ruminating thoughts. Or like, what was it actually like? What was the aha moment? Like, wow, this really does work.
I immediate right at the end of our discussion, just sobbed, and then I was exhausted, and I went to bed, and when I woke up the next day, I felt 10 pounds lighter,
That's
20 pounds lighter, 30 pounds lighter, and that was when I realized, wow, that was I was kind of carrying a lot.
Yep.
It
That
weighing me down, but
that lighter description I hear often from people, that it's the woo, and that what you had is what we call a grief dump, when your body's like, "Oh my god, thank you for finally getting rid of this. This has been, you know, just a 50,000-pound gorilla on my back, and when it's gone, you're like, wow, holy cow, I can kind of be free of this." So I had one when my big trauma got disconnected. I did the same thing. I was crying for a while. I was like, wow, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wow, I feel exhausted, hungry, and I want to take a nap or go to bed.
yes.
Right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's cool. What about you, Andy? What did you notice, or was it kind of like, okay, first session, kind of good? And again, I share this a lot of times when we do these podcasts, but you guys didn't have to tell me any details about anything that you're holding on to, correct?
Correct.
Mm.
That's the part that trips people up. They're like, how in the heck can you possibly help me if you don't know what it is I'm working on? And what I want to share right now, and you guys tell me if this makes sense to you or lands with you, because I've had a couple people give me some good feedback. When you think about how your brain operates, you go through a bad day,
Hmm.
even if there was trauma in that day, if you go through that bad day, at night when you go to sleep is when your brain processes the information. So when you're asleep, are you using your conscious brain or are you unconscious?
Unconscious.
Unconscious.
Right. So if all the processing happens when you're unconscious, when I'm doing the work with you, we're focused on the unconscious brain. That's why we don't need to do the talking about it. You
Hmm.
feel it, we walk you through the process, and your brain goes, okay, I can make sense of that because we're using the unconscious or subconscious, what I call the strong brain, not the weak brain. And there's places for talk therapy, definitely for folks, and there's a lot of good that can go on there, but specifically for trauma and rooted negative emotions, we got to get in that unconscious brain. And that's why when people kind of first hear this, like, wow, how is it possible to get rid of this stuff if we're not talking about it? Well, I would actually say, how is it possible to get rid of it if you're talking about it? Because you're consciously talking about it, which I usually get the chuckle from folks when I say, when we'll do a discovery call and they'll say, well, I'll say to them, people probably just tell you to, just look on the bright side, cheer up, get over it. And you're probably wanting to punch them in the throat. And usually I get a chuckle because they're like, yeah, if I could consciously tell myself to just get over it or not feel so sad or be happy, I would. And it's really those neural pathways that we attack, and the trauma that we go after that really, after the session, no doubt about it, this worked. But
Yeah.
kind of leading into that next piece is you can't get it all in one session. There's not this stuff comes to the surface. Can you guys speak to that, what you've noticed? Because we've done a handful of sessions together, and obviously there was a significant tragedy that happened after we had done our work together. You guys were doing really good, and
Yeah.
then it happened. So can you talk to that a little bit, what you noticed there, either one of you?
I mean, for me, session by session, I'm, at home looking at the scale and I'm thinking, pounds aren't coming off. I'm weighing 138 still. But no, I think it was just session by session. After I would sleep, wake up the next morning, like I want to feel those emotions and I think those emotions, but I can't put myself in that position to feel them, like to feel the trauma connected to them. And that was the one thing that shocked me was I couldn't, anytime I thought of any moment or memory that popped up in my head that had emotions attached, I couldn't feel it. And that was something I learned.
So when you're suffering with anxiety and kind of panic and depression, you're so used to feeling that way that when you all of a sudden aren't thinking of, well, what if this or what if that, it's it's a weird feeling. It's almost like this awful friend you've been dragging around with you for years and you finally told them to hit the road, like having a freeloader. It's like carrying around a freeloader, and once that's gone, you're kind of like, wait a minute. It's jarring. It's a bit jarring at first because you realize, wow, I've been carrying all this stuff and then it's not there anymore.
Yeah, it's the enemy you know, and I think a lot of folks struggle with taking the next step and doing work with me because they're like, "Well, I feel like I have my gremlins under control." Like, even though they're there and I know they're there, I don't wanna open up Pandora's box because 'cause I'm so afraid about what might happen.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you ever opened up Pandora's box and then just had all these live wires emotionally when you worked with me? Or did you feel like, wow, Pandora's box never really got opened? It was like things got disconnected and then I could rest and then we could identify more emotions. Like, and I guess why I'm saying that, because I've had people say that to me. Nick, I was so afraid because I've been able to compartmentalize or push stuff down that I was afraid if I did the work with you, that it would just all the stuff would come out of the box and then I'd be emotionally in a really bad place again. And usually they don't come work with me until something happens. Like there's another tragedy issue. And then it's like, okay, I'm finally going to do this. I can't control the anxiety or my trauma triggers or my nightmares are too bad. And I usually tell them, look, I've never had anybody say that they wanted that freeloader back again. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I initially felt like, "Oh my gosh, what am I gonna choose to focus on?" Because it felt like there was a laundry list of things in my brain that brought me worry and grief and anxiety, and so I worried that we wouldn't have enough time in the day to pick apart each of those items, I
Yeah.
guess.
And how did you feel? Andy, you can speak to this too. That's another very common thing that's usually said to me, and I'm like, "Don't let me guide you through this because you can't
Okay.
mess up the process. I really mold it to each individual person because some people are analytical, some people aren't. But my job is to make sure that I'm guiding you through it. Your brain is doing the work. There's nothing special about me. Your brain is just reprocessing it in a different way, almost as if you're subconsciously processing while you're awake. It's basically a biohack for REM sleep is what I do. It allows your subconscious to do what it needs to do while you're awake rather than while you're asleep. And I think the way you were just explaining that really kind of hit with me is that you're kind of like, oh, all this, where do I even start? I don't even know where to start. And then we go through the first session and you're probably like, wow, did you feel like we got more than you thought we'd get? Did you feel like, well, what do we do next? Like, what was your thought after that first session, either one of you guys?
I felt like I didn't have to pinpoint every little thing. It was kind of like it covered a big group of issues. Does that make sense?
To me, it does. Yeah. How about you, Andy?
I felt like we disconnected the main plug to it, the main energy cord for it. It definitely was because I was still so young. I mean, 17 at the time. I didn't know how it was going to work and how it was going to go about after the sessions we did going forward. But it definitely caught my attention that we pulled something out of the system, and I felt lighter right after that very first one.
Yeah. And let me ask you a tough question. Were either of you ever suicidal or have suicidal thoughts?
I was not.
On and off. I mean, I definitely have had many times because when it's so, how do I say, it's so attached to you, anxiety and emotions. It's like, and especially for me, I get a lot of anxiety when I do new things like interviews and all that. Becomes it becomes annoying that you just don't want to continue doing or dealing with it anymore. And that was one of like the many examples of my suicidal thoughts.
How do you do with new things now? Is it a lot different if something new pops up? Are you able to handle it?
Yeah, new things now, it's a lot easier because I'm able to calm myself. I've learned how to control my breathing for one big thing, being able to overcome that wave of nervousness and fear when it's something new.
It was
From
crippling
Yeah, it
for
was
you.
very crippling.
So those
For
tricks got shut off and then they're not as intense. So you're like, okay, probably like anybody, we get a little anticipatory, whether you're a basketball game or you're going to be racing dirt bikes, there's a little bit of that excitement. which can be like that fear where what's going to happen. That's normal, right? Normal emotions. But if I'm getting this correctly, what you're saying is you're not getting overwhelmed with it. It's like, okay, I'm feeling some of it that would be normal, but I'm able to sit in the pocket and handle the situation. Is that correct?
Yeah. Or you could also say I'm able to be in the driver's of it. I'm able to control that.
I like that, in the driver's seat. Thank you for sharing that. And I asked you that specifically, Andy. I thought you might say that. I work with a lot of teenagers that are suicidal and people don't have a clue. And usually people don't. And it's not that you want to die. It's just, man, how do I get out of this cycle? This just repetitive funk that's going on. And it's so sad for me because I know how easy it is to disconnect that stuff. And what I do is not the end all be all fix everything all the time. You know, people can have traumatic brain injuries or they could have hormonal imbalance. But what I do is very effective. And I love telling people, like, look, you'll know the first 2 sessions, you're going to know what we do works because we can go back and look at those traumatic events, those things that cause you anxiety. It's going to be different. Would you agree with that? That you know immediately when we do the work? It's like, oh, that's not there anymore, right? Like that gremlin you're talking, or that freeloader. Bettina, who works with me, she said to me, she's like, Nick, I'm looking for anxiety. I can't find it. Like she was trying to like find the anxiety after we disconnected it, and she was on meds for 20 years. And her story always sticks with me because she told me that multiple times. Like it's so weird. It's just not there anymore. And I can just enjoy myself. And hers was really was need to please everybody. And anxiety can mean different emotions for different people. Sometimes it's the need to please others. Sometimes it's the feeling not good enough. Sometimes it's just general fear or worry in general. But it's weird when it's gone, isn't it? That buzz or that hum is kind of quiet and you can just be present, is the word I hear a lot of people say.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's a very freeing feeling.
How about, are you guys currently on any meds?
Hmm.
Yes, but going to wean off
Yeah.
this this summer. I still have that bit in the back of my mind that I'm afraid I'll crash and then I won't be able to go to work. And I work in an elementary school and we are on summer vacation starting next week. So that's always my time to really try new things and I feel comfortable cutting off meds, but just want to make sure that I'm not doing it and missing out on, you know, or not being able to do my job, I guess. So the summer is usually my go-to time.
All right. Well, you got me in your back pocket, obviously. So I want to, let's chat after we're done with this podcast a little bit because I have a few things I want to talk to you about that. What about you, Andy?
About
You are
oh,
currently?
about yeah. So I'm still on citalopram. Set. I mean, when did I start taking it? 13, or yeah, 13 years old. Still on that. My goal is to eventually come off of it so I can, because I feel like it's obviously the drug that is, preventing me from feeling these emotions.
Not
But
necessarily.
to be able to just not take them anymore or take any kind of medication to handle my anxiety would be just like the accomplishment.
Well, I want to speak to that real quickly. And I always try to be careful because I'm not somebody that can prescribe medications and I don't tell people to get off them. I usually say, look, when you do your work with me, you're going to want to talk to your healthcare provider. And usually strongly recommend having a conversation about coming off that at however they tell you to do it. And however, that being said, I've worked with a lot of people who were on meds and or a lot of meds that are completely off them. But I had one client in particular who, a young man, his dad had him working with me and we did several sessions. And I finally, like, we talked about the meds he was on. And if you read the side effects, I was like, I can't do any more work with you. I didn't want to take his money or have his son working with me because I was pretty certain that the side effects of the drug is what was causing some of his emotional disruption. So it was a pretty lengthy weaning off process. He came off the meds. We did one more session and we've never had to do another session since then because it was finally like very clear. Hey, these are the emotions. So I actually love it. Like a lot of times I'll have clients come to me and be like, I'm off all my meds, but I'm like, great, because now we can identify what are the emotions. We'll go rip them out. And again, I usually like try to put it out there that if you think of a conveyor belt of people that you want to try to work with, I am the guy I want you to fire me as fast as possible. Like if we can do 2 sessions, if it's 3, I can't promise because your brain only processes so fast. And we'll speak to that a little bit, Andy. You were feeling a little bit of funk in the trunk and reached out. And is it all right if I share a little bit about that with the audience, kind of that last little session you and I did?
Mhm.
Let me bring up my notes real quick. It was really, I believe, like one emotion. Let's see here. Yeah, there we go. So, yeah, the last thing that we worked on, I think we went over the emotion of feeling left out and sadness. Sound familiar?
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah. So, like for the audience, think about that. If you have an emotional root of feeling left out, it doesn't feel good to feel left out, does it? It's like that's a depressive type thought. And sadness is another one. And obviously, you've been through a lot. So you can go through new events that can create new roots. But you were 4 years old. You went back to a memory at 4 years old, and the sadness was on a scale of 0 to 10, it was a 6. We reframed the emotion and the learnings. We went through the process. It went from a 6 to a 0. And the feeling left out was at 10 years old. So these are memories that you could drop back into and you could feel the emotion. If you drop into those memories now, do you feel any negative emotion around them or do you just see them?
Just see them. It's normal.
And did you feel a shift in that sad, depressive state you were in after we did that session?
Yeah. Yeah, easily.
Yeah. That's crazy how it's like I was talking to you guys a little bit beforehand about a client I was working with where I had let her know, look, probably 3 to 4 sessions. After session 3, she was like, man, I don't know if this is really going to work for me. And I'm like, what do you mean? You can't. And we went back through everything we had worked on. She didn't feel any of that stuff. And then she basically said, well, my kids are like, oh, mom, don't worry about it. I don't kind of, and then my husband might say, oh, we'll deal with that later. And she's like, I just feel like I'm dismissed all the time. And I was like, oh, well, we will puke out the emotion. You usually say it, and Andy, you said it to me. You were kind of like, I don't know, I just feel left out. I'm like, well, let's go after the feeling left out emotion. It's crazy when it's you. It's so hard to identify it. Resentment was one of those emotions for me. Very hard for me to personally identify the emotion of resentment. I don't know why, if you're not watching the podcast, like these thumbs keep popping up. I got to figure out how to shut these thumbs off. It's kind of comedy, breaks my train of thought. But yeah, it's like, it's weird when it's you. It's hard to pinpoint. Just like you were saying, Michelle, earlier, like, where do we even start? That's where years of doing this and working with so many people, I just listen. And usually it comes out, oh, yeah, I just feel left out, or general sadness. I've had people that had worry or fear around money, and we go back to a root when they were 4 years old. They felt worry around money. We disconnect it. They're not worried about money anymore. And if you really think about that, there's a lot of people that's an easy one to pinpoint. But worrying about money, does it put more money in your bank account? Right? Because if we could make more money by worrying, there'd be a lot of millionaires out there. Right? It's a bit, the truth is, right? The truth is really it's a tool. And I usually ask people, I'm like, have you ever had a hammer? They're like, yeah. I'm like, you ever been worried about your hammer? And they're like, you're so stupid, Nick, shut up. And I'm like, but think about it. A hammer's a tool to build a house, right? Money is a tool to buy a house or to own a home or to pay a mortgage. They're both tools. They don't do anything. The emotion itself doesn't do anything to build your house or to pay for your house. And that's where the key lies in the work that we do. It's a framing process to allow your brain to take on new information. It's like a iOS update for your computer. It's like, bloop, let's update the learning or the understanding in those neural pathways, and it shuts it down. And then you can go back to being the best version of you. I don't know. You guys, I've seen a big shift with you guys. And if you don't mind to pivot a little bit, unfortunately, we did our work together. I think the last time I got to spend time with Rob was at my sister's wedding, which was super fun for me because I had a messed up back and I pretended that I fell on my face and we were all hamming it up pretty good and had a good time. But I got that call that Rob was in the hospital. Things weren't good. And I called my sister and she went to spend time with you guys. And obviously, I promised him I'd always be there for you guys no matter what. I've never lost a spouse, a child, or a parent. My dad's not in the greatest shape in the world right now. He's got his mind and I love him and he's got a super deep faith. But can you kind of give us a little bit of like what was it like? Obviously you'd been through the work with me, but you lose Rob very unexpectedly. I can't imagine the weight of that, and then we did do some work together. I came over to the house, and I didn't pry too much, but what was it like leading up to that, and then us getting to do some work together? Because I have worked with people in deep grief, and a lot of times when you go through some deep grief, you're like, "I don't wanna talk to anybody. I don't wanna go through a process. The last thing I wanna do is that," right? Because you're right in the middle of it. What I have shared with folks, and you tell me if I'm crazy. I really want you to tell me if I'm nuts here because I'm giving you full authority. Go for it. Hammer me on this one. Your spouse and your mom and you lose your husband. Going through these processes is not going to something that's going to diminish the fact that you feel sadness or loss or grief, right? Grieving. You're not going to be like, oh, okay, well, okay, now I'm going to go out and tomorrow we're playing tennis and I'm not even thinking about my husband. But that deep grief where you can't quite eat, you can't sleep, you just can't function. What I do shuts that off so that you can actually be present for the people that need you and or love you and or go through it. Is that a correct statement when I say that?
Mhm.
Yes, you came
Mhm.
over the morning of his wake. So his wake ended up being, I don't know, humongous. That it was what, 5, 6 hours long. It ended up being very long.
Yeah.
There were over 1,000 people that came. And I don't think I would have been able to get through that had we not met prior to that. I think I was dreading I had so much dread around that. Like I just didn't even want to be there. And I thought, how am I going to do this? Like how everything was overwhelming. Every aspect. Taking a shower was overwhelming. Getting dressed, cleaning the house was overwhelming. So the thought of going, standing in a room and greeting all of these people was far more overwhelming than any of the day-to-day things. And you came over that afternoon and I felt ready to conquer that and to show up. It gave me the focus, I guess, or the energy. I don't even know how to describe it, but it gave me the ability to go and do that and be there and be present. And I felt present when I was there. I was able to take it all in and have conversations with people. I wasn't just a zombie standing there, thank you, thank you, thank you. Like I was feeling all the emotions and I was able to be present in that moment and see what an impact he had. And I was very grateful for that because that was a very healing thing for me,
Yeah,
if that makes sense to you.
Mhm.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because he had always said that he wanted to. We used to talk about, well, what do you want it to say? Hold on, sorry.
How long were you married?
24 years and together for 30. But
You put up with Rob for 30 years?
yeah,
You're going to heaven.
a seat right next to the big fella upstairs. No, but we had always talked about like, well, what would you want it to? We had a lot of conversations about, he had a lot of grief in his childhood and in his family. So we talked about it a lot. We talked about those things. It became part of your life. And one of the things he and I always talked about was, what would you like it to say on your headstone? And sorry. I can't talk when I cry. It's the
I don't
only
know.
thing.
I don't know many people can. I- If you can talk and cry at the same time, you got a power that like most of us don't have. That
I don't possess that, but his was he wanted to know he made a difference in someone's life. And wow, at his wake, I was like, look at all these people. Like he did that and then some. And that was I was able to recognize that in the moment. And I don't think I would have been able to do that. I would have missed that. I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I didn't miss that moment. So thank you.
well, thank you. He did have a big impact. What about you, Andy?
I mean,
Thank you.
He'd want us busting his chops a little bit right now. I know he would. The conversations, the one thing I love about him, man, he was like, he'd call me up, be like, Nick, I got this client. And he started explaining, he's like, I'm like, mental margarita work. And he's like, yeah, man, you got to hook me up here. You got to help me out. So I was like, it was so cool. From him, I ended up having multiple other professionals in my career field sending
Yeah,
folks my way. And, we're all going to leave this world at some point. And if a man like that can have a family like you guys and can have people show up and honor him the way they did, I mean,
yeah,
it sucks. I always go to the Billy Joel song, Only the Good Die Young.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, what he put his heart and soul into people all the time. He was always thinking about other people.
yep. And he
And
was very good at he was really an amazing people person. And one of the things that I thought, "Oh gosh, he's always the one to deliver the eulogy, like, who he can't eulogize himself, what are we gonna do?"
if you would have said that to him when you were talking about the headstone piece,
He
he,
probably would have written his own eulogy.
he would have recorded it. And it would have been funny as all get out. We would have been like, oh my God, really? Are you kidding me right now?
There did it justice 'cause his he couldn't read it himself, but it was funny and it was perfect. So, yeah, his brother Kevin did a great job, but yeah, that would have been something he probably would have loved to do. Crazy. He was a goof.
He was.
Screwball, what my grandmother used to call him. He was a screwball.
He
So,
looked serious, but then the funny side would come out. I remember the first time we really chatted. He reminds me of this. You guys are probably think I'm stupid as all get out for this, but have you ever seen the Avenger series?
yeah,
You know that I think it's in Thor. The 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 scientist, the smart guy that helps like he's I don't know what he looks like. He has a little bit of a similar look to Rob. I'd say Rob was a better looking guy than this actor, but he's a little bit
I
of an older guy that's like this.
think you're saying the Hulk.
No, your dad was not green and muscular, that's for sure. No, do you know who I'm talking about? We got to find this actor.
Doctor Strange.
No.
no.
This guy was the one that was helping Elizabeth, the girl that fell in love with Thor. He was the scientist. And at one point in the show, he ends up naked, running around talking about what's going on in different worlds, and he's on the news, and they're like, "Oh my God!" Like, I don't know. For some reason, every time I watch that dang movie with the kids, I'm like, "That's Rob." That's just
Was it in the Thor was he the guy in the Thor movie?
yeah. He's like he gets turned a little bit by I think Loki or one of the bad guys, and gets used a little bit to open up a portal. Oh my God, I'm totally going Avengers geek right now. Sorry. How did we go this far sideways? Nick, reel it in.
It's okay. It's okay. You can edit it out. I'm trying to find him.
Yeah, I'll find it in a minute. But Andy, what was it? What was it like for you, buddy? I mean, I know I sat down with you and your mom that day. Did it help you kind of be able to process things or work through it? I mean, I can't imagine, man, being in your shoes. But what was that like for you? And were you glad that we did go through what we went through?
Yeah. I mean, in the moment, I struggled because I was so I was so angry with it. I remember I just punched holes in the walls because of how infuriated I was, and when I was able to, go to the wake and see how many people were touched and not just me, I was grateful for that because at one point in my life he saved me. For people who don't know, basketball has always been the biggest thing in our family, and for me, he created my love for it.
Hmm.
And I wasn't able to love it at one point in my life, and I wanted to quit it, and he saved my life in that one moment, and I was able to, love what I was doing. And, as I got older and became more of, a young adult, he started to become, like my best friend, and everyone was always like, you look just like your dad, and people still say it to this day.
He does.
I just get, I wouldn't say I get angry by it, but I just get just,
He was a handsome dude. You should be
yeah.
fired.
But I get, just frustrated with it because, I it's something that, you never want to go through, obviously. It was losing a parent or a sibling or a grandfather or grandmother. But for me, he was just so similar to me. I mean, I still get told now that I look just like him. When I see myself, I see my dad.
Yep.
And it's funny because when I see my younger brother, I see my mom, and it's really funny because he's a mommy's boy and I'm a daddy's boy. So it was just so maddening when it all went down the way it did. And I asked God many times, why am I being punished for, you know, with my dad being taken away from us? But in many similar scenarios, I was told, at the wake, it was just like a sign that, he did so much, and I guess the Lord had better things for him or better place for him to be. Um, because he did deal with grief when he was a kid, when he was my age growing up.
He
And
lost his best
yeah,
friend only 2 weeks before he passed away.
yeah.
It was the craziest thing. But the fact that you are so much like your dad is such a gift to everybody else, I think is something you need to realize.
Yeah, Andy,
And it's a gift to you too.
something I would my faith is in my relationship with God and the diving deeply into the Bible and learning a lot. I'd say I've gained a little bit of biblical wisdom. I had none. And I feel like I've gained a decent amount over the last few years. And you're being angry at God and being angry and why and all those questions, I would do the same thing. I'd be asking the same stuff. And the one thing that I would share is that your dad, and I guarantee you this podcast is going to save some lives. I know that because I've had other people call me that were ready to check out, couldn't handle the grief. They were just overwhelmed. You guys selflessly sharing your story today, and Rob constantly selflessly sharing himself.
Hmm.
He would want this to happen right now, but he also, his legacy, what he did, how he touched lives, it almost makes me think of Charlie Kirk. Like, why? And then you watch all these people that come to Christ after what happened in that moment. Okay, I used you. Your purpose is here, and there's something bigger and better. And my life used to feel like Job. Maybe yours feels like that a little bit at times of what you've been through. And it's like, man, I go through all this stuff. I'm feeling better, and then I lose my dad. Are you kidding me right now? And in the book of Job, he loses his family. He loses everything. And I just went through that recently, that book, some of that study. And one of the things that I didn't realize was that God literally said to Satan, how about my good and faithful servant, Job? Like, pointed the finger at him, like offered him up. And you're like, wait a minute, hold on. And God allowed that to happen. And Job, in the middle of it, his friends are like, hey, you must have done something bad. You must have done something wrong. Nope. They were ignorant. The reality is God was using Job to glorify himself and for an example and for all of us. At the end of the day, he stayed faithful, and it shows the impact that Job had. God restored him. There's a bigger purpose. Your dad's life was hugely impactful, and us losing your dad wasn't a loss that isn't going to be impactful as well. His legacy and what he did and the people, you guys got to see it at the wake. I mean, just the fact that he had a son who loved him and loves him. We're gonna hang out with him again.
Yeah.
It's temporary. We're gonna be partying with your dad because he is a cool dude, and I can't wait to spend some more time with him. But I can't tell you how proud of you I am that you stuck in the pocket. You and I got together. We've had some conversations, and it's what your dad would want. He'd want you guys to honor him and keep moving forward. And how do we help other people? And your dad was a servant. He was constantly trying to serve other people and help other people. And if that doesn't shine God's light and make people go, there's something different about him, I don't know what does. And I'm just thankful I got to know him and got to spend time with you guys. And he trusted me with the people he loved most in this life. Because him and I had some conversations. I won't share them all with you guys right now, but we had some funny conversations behind the scenes, whether it was around money, the business, planning, life. How old was Rob when he died?
53.
Super young. Yeah. Yep. And it's funny because my oldest kids are older than your guys, but I'm younger, a little bit younger. So we would have we just jived on a lot. And my sister, it's the crazy thing is my sister's 20 years younger than me, and he hit it off of my sister. Maybe it's just something in our genetic family makeup. We're all a little bit crazy. Our crazy matches. So our clans kind of vibed. But what are some things that you guys are looking forward to and doing these days that kind of fill you up, and what is it like, living post losing somebody you love that much? And what are some of the things though that are on the looking up side of the house for you guys?
So Rob always used to say, I'm not here for a long time, I'm here for a good time. Which tracks. And but the one thing I took away from all of it was he would want us to live our best lives. So I think we've spent a lot of time doing things together. I think we're gonna play some golf together. I took some lessons last year so I could find some common ground with the boys because they both love golf. So I think we're gonna spend a little time on the golf course and they can teach me. So that'll be a new experience. We're gonna plan. We haven't been on a trip anywhere. We need to plan a trip together.
Well, plan a trip up to my house. Let's go out in the boat and spend some time on the lake. I think that would be fun.
That's fun. That sounds good to me.
I love that though, that mom's diving in and like gonna try to chase that little white golf ball around. Talk about a sport that's maddening. Oh my God.
Mine are pink. Just saying. The boys hooked me up with some pink golf balls, but yeah, it should be interesting because I don't know. Picking up a new sport at 53 is interesting, but I crushed a ball, so this hopefully hopefully golf will be the same, but we'll see.
What advice would you give someone listening that might be in a similar scenario to you guys?
Just to, like she said, just to, enjoy the moment, and live your life. One other thing that my dad did teach me was to, regardless of whatever situation you're in, is to have faith. Have faith in the process, have faith in things working out, have faith in the things that you want, the positions you want to be in, that you believe that you will be in. I mean, having faith is believing in something that isn't real, and for me, faith has always been,
Not that it's not real, but it's not something tangible that you can touch
not something
or
tangible.
see. Sorry.
But just to always believe in yourself and to love those around you because, you might wake up tomorrow and they're not here.
Live life with no regrets.
Hmm.
Rob always lived his life with no regrets.
Mhm.
That was one thing I remember him always saying. Like when his mom was sick, he would drop everything and drive and sit with her all night in the hospital. And he said, I never had any regrets after my mom died. I didn't say, "Oh, I should have gone that one time or I should have spent more time." Like he just do it.
That's a part of what made him such a great financial advisor, because he would see his life and his family and other people's lives, and people knew he was genuine. People knew he cared. Outside all the investment stuff, a lot of what you do behind the scenes in that role is emotions management and holding hands and going to funerals and going to weddings. And I don't know if I know anybody that's better than him at genuinely being there for people.
And he
Uh,
just is a natural at making connections.
yeah, he was.
Yeah, and he said to me, the one thing that drew him into being a financial advisor was from, his coaching days. He wanted to make an impact on people's lives without them knowing. And he would do little things every single day to just make those impacts. Whether someone was having the worst day of their life or the best, he would try to make it better one way, shape, or form.
Mhm.
And for me, he always taught me that his obligation as a parent as well as a coach is to make your or to make his kids or his players or his clients' lives better than his was growing up, or his childhood was growing up, or his
Easier.
playing career was growing up, and easier and more successful.
Yeah.
He was an amazing dude. I remember walking him through the process first time, and he looked like he lost about 80 pounds. Like he was sweating. He was like, afterwards, his brain was like, and it's like he lit up like a Christmas tree though, because he's like, "Do you realize how many people this could help?" I'm like, "I know, Rob, I know," but it's hard to explain to people, and it seems like witchcraft, as you said, or voodoo magic. And I'm like, it's just a mental margarita, man. It's just gonna fix that funk in your trunk and move on, right? But he was so good at touching people's lives, and obviously he's raised some great kids and had a super amazing wife, and I think that you guys are going to continue to carry on his legacy and your own, and I'm super appreciative that I got to be a part of being there for you guys a little bit, not nearly as much as many of their family, but I got to play a small part because Rob, I always told him like, man, no matter what, I'll be there for your family, and you guys are great. And obviously I didn't expect to get the phone call that I got or what happened. And
Yeah.
I just appreciate you guys bringing me into your family a little bit and trusting me.
Another big part of that was also seeing like this overwhelming sense of community. It
Yeah.
was amazing. Like just there were so many people there to help. I guess it was overwhelming, but in such a good way. And you realize, okay, we always tried to teach our kids, you surround yourself with good people and your life will be good. Just choose your friends and your companions and your people wisely. And that was a perfect example. Like look at all these good people that just came from all over the place and wanted to help and share, and it was it was a lovely part of that awful experience. I try to find the silver lining in things and try and find the good parts,
Mhm.
and that is definitely one of the good parts.
Well, a bad tree does not bear good fruit, and a good tree doesn't bear bad fruit. And I think that the proof that Rob was a good tree and bared a lot of good fruit was not just the people that showed up when he was struggling, but the amount of people that what you would hear it from and see it from, and the clients that he sent me to work with, man, I'd be like, "You guys in love?" I mean, they loved Rob in a way that he could walk on water. I was like, "Guy's amazing." So, just glad I got to spend a little bit of time with him and share him, and I'm glad he liked my knucklehead sister because she's pretty cool. I just hope nobody tells her that I think that she's that cool because she's good people. I
Yeah,
hope.
we adore her as well. But
Well,
yes.
I'm
And
sorry that you got look, you got the B team of the siblings here. I mean, if you gotta stick with Annie, you gotta do the best you can. She's a little bit of a character, but isn't she great? It's like it was so neat
yes.
that hearing how some of the stories that she had of her and Rob and talking and life. Like, he really helped her a lot when she got into the financial advising role, and he definitely played a special role with her, and Annie doesn't hold back or say things to say things. Like, she genuinely loved that guy, and we still will get together, still have conversations about him, and it was real. And I know
Yeah.
something about Annie. She loves real people, and
Yep.
she couldn't see. What's that?
It was as real as it gets.
You ain't kidding. What was
Yeah.
that? How did that saying go again? I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time. That's gonna be sticking with me. Not here
Yep.
for a long time, but I'm here for a good time.
Yep.
Rob, I love it. Well, is there anything that you guys wanna end it with or share with other than just and I just wanna toast to your husband and to you guys. You're a strong family, and I know that you're gonna continue on and do great things, and obviously, I'm here for you if there's anything else that pops up.
Oh, we
The
know
work good, good.
for sure. You were talking about I'm trying to remember what backtracking, like things that helped, I guess, going through losing a spouse and or a dad or whatever. But one tool I found useful outside of my sessions with you, when things felt really bleak, one of the things I would do every single night, and I still do it, I just don't have to do it every night, I think, but anyway, I'll get back to that. I would lie in bed, and just before I would go to sleep, I would give thanks for all of the positive things in my life, and I would list them in my head. And when things were very bleak, sometimes it was, thank you for this roof over my head. Thank you for my children's full bellies. Thank you for my children's health. Like sometimes it was very, very basic. And so I kind of started there. And then every day I would try and add something else, add at least one or two things. And it usually ended up being more. It could have been just something from that day. Thank you for the kind lady at the grocery store that gave me a nice smile, or the woman who complimented my top or something, like whatever. And after a while, it really changed my mindset. I became a much more positive person, and it helped me find the good, I guess, in the moments that I was walking around and awake, uh, and I appreciated those moments a lot more. So that's one tool I use to kind of dig myself out of a hole. Is it was just like one little shovelful at a time. Like thank you for my own health. It might start there, but every day it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually you don't need to revisit it every day. But I probably do once a week. Uh,
That's
just list
tremendous
your
advice.
blessings. It's counting your blessings and thanks for those things that you don't always have control over.
And in my world, like, that's advice I would give to somebody. I would have done it more of a Nick Stupid scientific way. I think that was just so good. It's a lot of what we call the reticular activating system. And if you're looking for the positive, you're going to see the positive. And how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And you said it, one shovel at a time. Like, I
Like
couldn't. It's almost like I planted you on purpose there. But as a mom and a spouse who's gone through what you've gone through, to share that advice, I hope that everybody listening, if you're in those shoes, it's tough to
yeah,
hear maybe, but it's so true. It will give it
yeah,
some time, and it will shift your
yeah,
mindset.
yeah. And you're able to be grateful. Yes, this horrible thing has happened, but look at all this laundry list of things. It's like a war and peace novel of positivity in your life.
Yeah.
And don't let it be overshadowed by this one. this one thing that seems enormous and overwhelming at the time, but in the big scheme of things, it's just a very small part of it.
Hmm.
So that would be my other bit to take away from this whole experience. But
I think that's fantastic. Andy, anything you'd share for somebody that might be more your age or a child of a parent that's kind of going through what you're going through, or even not even regards to your dad, like just to somebody that's your age that's going through severe anxiety or struggling really bad social situations, what would you tell them?
Reach out to Nick Davis. I would say just open your mind up. A lot of people think that you have to hold in these emotions, but and always pressure themselves to hold these emotions in, but you really don't have to. You just need to have people to talk to and to open up. And if you are one that lost someone, you got to always look at the positive and be thankful for what you've been given, the people that have been touched by he or she that has passed. And then the other thing too is to just enjoy it. Enjoy the life that you're given, regardless of circumstances, and to just be happy and to be successful in life, regardless of where you go, no matter what level it is, no matter how high you are, no matter how low you are. But at the end of the day, with anxiety, just reach out to your people. Just open yourself up and explain how you're feeling. Because these emotions are not be held on to. They're to be let go and to be disconnected.
don't be
Yeah,
afraid
it's not
to help.
it's not the way we're designed. Our brain isn't designed to hold on to rooted negative emotions. That's why the work that I do is so rapid and quick is the brain's like, oh, okay, I can let go of that. And give a quick example to wrap this up. And Michelle, unless you have something else you want to share, definitely share it. Oftentimes when I'm with somebody that's lost a loved one
Uh-huh.
and they're in that grief stage and we're doing the emotions work, because grief or survivor's guilt or things like that, obviously it's trauma, like what you went through was a traumatic event, but there can also be the emotions tied to it. And I'll ask the person, I want you to switch roles. I want you to imagine, get in your imagination brain and imagine that you're the one that passed. And now you're looking down on the family or the people that are left behind. How do you want them to feel and act and live the rest of their life?
Yep.
And usually the things that I hear is like, oh, I'd want them to be happy and say funny things about me and live life to the fullest. And I just want them to, know that I gave it my best or whatever those things are is what the people will say. And then I'll ask them, what makes you think that they would expect anything less out of you?
Yeah.
And the aha moment happens. And it's like, oh, that's a reframing, right? Because it doesn't honor holding on to all the grief and the sadness. Rob would kick us all right in the teeth if every day we spent was like in crying in our cereal. Like everybody's gonna grieve. It's normal. But would you guys agree with that? If we were sitting here right now and nobody could function, he could come back and he'd smack us all. He'd be like, what are you guys doing? Like play ball, get on the court, right?
Yeah.
Start dunking, like do something, man. Hit the golf ball.
He
Like let's
wouldn't
not
want us to exist. He would want us to live. There's a big
exactly.
Wouldn't want us to be miserable. Wouldn't
No.
want
no.
you to.
And I said, what would dad tell you to do? What would dad say about that
Mm.
when you were going through a rough time and he was feeling like we had moved on, but you don't ever move on. You move forward, but
A- And what you just said, it threw me for a loop because you just said an emotion that we actually disconnected for Andy, the feeling left out,
yeah,
which was an emotion that you just tied it in perfectly to why that root was still there. But with Rob, how does it honor him if you hold on to those emotions?
yeah,
Right? It doesn't honor the people we've lost by holding on to the sadness and the grief. Honoring them is sharing their legacy, their story, and
yeah,
continuing on. And like he worked his butt off for you guys, and I think you're doing it. I think you're doing a wonderful job. By the
getting there.
way, I did find the actor. You guys cannot yell at me if you think I'm nuts here. But is that, I mean, do you know the character
Yeah,
in,
I know him.
yep,
Oh, Stellan Skarsgård. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm glad you said his name because I would have messed it up. But
Yeah.
his kind of dry, slow sense of humor at times in the movie, and
Yeah.
then but then he could be wicked funny and he was super smart. There's a part of his character that just I don't know why. I'm sorry. I know it's not probably. And he's like, really? I look like that, dude? Thanks, man. You're fired. Okay, him 30 years ago. All right, he's probably a stud in whatever country he grew up in. But
Well, his son Alexander is an actor as well. Alexander Skarsgård
there we go.
family.
Andy was hoping that I was saying his dad was Thor. Like, yes, okay. And by the way, Sarah, my wife, has the hots for Thor. So and I try to stay away from who doesn't. Oh my
If
God.
if you have a heartbeat,
The guy, Thor looks like a bad shampoo commercial that makes a lot of money. I mean, come on, man, with the flow. I like Thor with short hair that like a little scarred up. Now that guy's kind of cool. Or Fat Thor. I like Fat Thor too. When he was
that
drunk.
was hilarious.
Yes. See, that's why he was my favorite. I love Fat Thor.
Humor is sexy too. So, he really can't go wrong.
Oh my God. All right. Well, what a way to wrap things up. Andy, I'm golfing with you and your mom. I don't care. I'm probably half as good a golfer as she is, given that she just started out. But I love you guys. I appreciate you coming on to the show and your loss and the things that you guys have been through. And sharing this story is going to save lives. And I'm going to share it with you when it does, because I know it will. And I appreciate your selfless act of coming on here and sharing a little bit of Rob with the world and a little bit what it's like to have lived the life you guys have. And if you need me, I'm here. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.